What is happening, my YouTube family? Of course, it is your boy B New. I'm coming at you on this Tuesday. And first and foremost, as always, want to send out positive vibrations and blessings to anybody who could be listening. Now, with all that being said, we all know that the Los Angeles Lakers were back in action on yesterday, taking on none other than the Memphis Grizzlies, looking to go up 3-1 in a crucial game yet again for the Lakers because they did not want to go back to Memphis tied up 2-2 and put themselves in that situation. Now, before the series, I had picked Lakers in 6, but as you all know, after game 1, I picked Lakers in 5. And even after game 2, I still picked Lakers in 5 because I felt like the Lakers really gave one up, especially when Ja Morant was out and Tyus Jones led the Memphis Grizzlies to victory. And we could be looking at a series in which the only victory that the Memphis Grizzlies get is when Tyus Jones was the starting point guard. And I'm not taking anything away from Ja Morant. That's a whole nother conversation we could talk about in the latter portions of today's show, if you guys stick with me. So stick with me. We got some very interesting topics to cover. But the first and foremost topic that we got to cover is how the Los Angeles Lakers were able to dig down deep and pull out a victory away from the Memphis Grizzlies. And we have to give a big shout out to DAngelo Russell. And I was critical of him throughout most of the game. And when he came in the latter portions of the fourth quarter, I'm not going to lie, I was yelling at Darvin Ham to make sure to bring him off and put him back on the bench because he had made a few bonehead plays, especially the play he took. He gave up one play. He gave up transition, easy points to Desmond Bane in transition, not getting back. And then on another play, not maybe 2 plays later, you take a take foul in transition that ended up being a clear path foul, giving the Memphis Grizzlies 2 shots and the ball back. And for most of the night, DAngelo Russell, you were terrible on defense. You were terrible on transition defense. It wasn't your best shooting night, which it hasn't been, and you have not been showing up in the playoffs. And I'm telling you what, I was already ready to get on the show and tell everybody to ship D-Lo out of town. But lo and behold, what does he do? He actually scores 9 of his points in the fourth quarter. He only had 17, so think about it. He had 8 points going into that quarter. He was 7 out of 15, hit 3 of those threes. So you got to realize he was 4 out of 13 before that happened. So hitting those 3 big threes were crucial. That put him actually up to 46%, 7 out of 15 for the game, which overall isn't bad, and 3 out of 8 from 3. So think about it. Going into that fourth quarter, he was already 0 for 5 from 3, but those were some very timely threes. And of course, I don't want to say the Lakers were lacking energy at the end, but on the play before, when they just could not get to the ball in time and Desmond Bane hit the 3, putting them up by 7 with like 4.5, 5 minutes left. At this point, I'm thinking, well, looks like they're going to have to go to the drawing board and dig deep and try to get a victory in Memphis and try to finish it out at home. This is not looking good, but I continue to have faith because I knew you had GOAT James on the floor. And once we talk about that, we shall see, once we get into that in a minute, just how crucial that last play was to actually force the overtime. But just continue to talk about DAngelo Russell, his performance, hitting those big threes. Without those 3-pointers, then the Los Angeles Lakers, I think, would have been finished. So Darvin Ham said in his press conference after the game, big shouts out to D-Lo, and I have to do the same because without those 3-pointers, then it would not have been a game. And another thing I want to give a shout out to is the Memphis Grizzlies defense. I don't think they get enough love for what they do. Like the Lakers defense has been number 1 since the trade deadline, but Memphis defense has been right there with them, and they make it very hard on scorers. They rotate quickly. They fight through screens. They are great on-ball defenders. They're a great protector of the rim, even daring the Lakers to shoot 3 and packing the paint, making it not easy for LeBron James to operate. They come at the perfect time on double teams, it seems. They hard double AD to get the ball out of his hands and make him not feel comfortable. And that's something I want to touch on too before we talk about LeBron James' shot and ultimately how they got the victory is I just feel like on the defensive end. Jared Vanderbilt does a great job, but I'm starting to think, and I've said this in previous episodes, just like I kept saying that Austin Reeves should take the place of Malik Beasley in the starting lineup. And what has he done? Almost vanished Malik Beasley's minutes altogether, because he has not been a top-notch performer in the playoffs or down the stretch of the season. Very streaky. But what I'm trying to say is, maybe it's time to bring Jared Vanderbilt out of the starting lineup. I know he is feisty and he can get the rebounds, but at the end of the day, I just feel like that that Rui Hachimura is a better player. He can play just as good defense. He might not be as scrappy as Vanderbilt is on defense, but he's a great wing defender. He can definitely give some issues and hold his own on that side of the ball, but he is a much better scorer, because what's happening is with Jared Vanderbilt in that starting lineup, especially maybe it's this series, in this Memphis Grizzlies series, pretty much they can put Memphis's center onto Anthony Davis, and then they just let Trip, who we call Jared Jackson Jr., they just allow him to float because he doesn't respect Jared Vanderbilt out on the perimeter. Now, we do know that Jared Vanderbilt did make 2 3-pointers early in the game, and that kind of gave the Lakers that lead, and the Lakers were up by 16, and you just thought all was fair and good, and, the Lakers were just going to easily walk away with this victory. And, that poor performance in the second quarter by the Lakers is ultimately what led Memphis Grizzlies to get confidence and get back into the game. And Austin Reeves made a boneheaded play as the Lakers were in the bonus. He just reaches in and fouls Jared Jackson Jr. after he rebounds the ball, putting Jared Jackson Jr. right back on the foul line. And once he's on the foul line, they just kept cutting into that lead. And then that gave Austin Reeves, I believe, his 4th foul, if I'm not mistaken, before halftime. And then he had to go sit, and then he had to be very cautious with his fouls going forward. Or either that was his 3rd foul, and he got into a 4th foul early in the 3rd quarter. I think maybe that's what it was, but ultimately he was in foul trouble. But Austin Reeves ended up being the leading scorer for the Lakers, and that is saying something, that the Lakers were able to win this game with Austin Reeves being the leading scorer with 23 points. Anthony Davis, only 12 points. We're going to talk about that in just a minute, too. I mean, Anthony Davis, I keep saying he needs to have at least 17 or 18 shot attempts. In this game, he only had 13, 4 out of 13, and you got to think 5 of his points came in overtime. So pretty much Anthony Davis had 12 points. So really, he got 5 of them in overtime. He only had 7 points through 4 quarters. What is Anthony Davis out here doing? He needs to be more aggressive and be more dominant. But that goes back to what I was saying as far as the Memphis Grizzlies defense. Xavier Tillman, I'm sorry, his name just eluded me earlier. So Xavier Tillman can play AD straight up, but then Jared Jackson Jr. can send a lot of help because they're not too concerned about Vanderbilt out on the perimeter, and they feel like they can close out with them anyway. And especially coming from that side, it's hard for AD to get the ball back over to the weak side anyway from when they're bringing a double. So at the end of the day, maybe it is, like I said, time to let Hachimura just get some of that tread going on. And I know you don't want to mess up the chemistry, and Vando has been a steady part of the Lakers starting lineup since the trade deadline and has been pretty successful. I'm not sure what his plus minus is since he's been with the Los Angeles Lakers. And I know last game he had a plus, which was good. But this game, of course, Vanderbilt actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Vanderbilt had a minus 18, which was the largest minus on the game. And if you look at those runs that the Grizzlies went on in order to get them back into the game, it was when Vanderbilt was on the floor. Even though they started off hot at the beginning, whenever he came back onto the floor after that, it was just always a minus because, like I said, the Memphis Grizzlies was pretty much clogging the paint during the Lakers to shoot, and nor the Memphis Grizzlies nor the Los Angeles Lakers shot particularly well from beyond the arc on yesterday. But, shouts out to Austin Reeves. But going back to LeBron James, we have to say this. LeBron James, I just want to, and I'm sorry I can't put it up on the screen. I've had infringements before. I put something up and they send me something to say I got to take it down. So just imagine in your head and go back and look at it. I'm a best illustrate this for you as I can. On that last play, LeBron James penetrated. And I'm not talking about the play that tied it and sent it to overtime. I'm talking about the play when the game was tied up and the Lakers could have took the lead for good and prevented going to overtime. They put the ball in the hands of LeBron James. He penetrates. He gets down to the basket. Of course, he sucks and draws the defense in. And I think in his head for a split second, he thought about kicking it to Schroeder at the top of the key for a wide open three. But I think what he said was, I can get the dump off pass to Achimura right here at the rim. And if I can get something at the rim, it'll be a more high percentage shot chances of it going in than it would be from a 3-point at the top of the key. So that's what he elected to do. And you got to give gutsy performance once again to Trip, Jaren Jackson Jr. jumping up and blocking that shot, and not just blocking it, but blasting the shot so good that it goes out to Ja Morant, creates a fast break. Of course, they played great defense on him. Austin Reeves getting back in transition, but Ja Morant with the beautiful pass behind his back to, I believe it was Desmond Bane, if I'm not mistaken, who went ahead and got to put them up by 2 with 6 seconds left. And you're thinking, well, it's going back to Memphis. Can they do it? But me, myself, and I had a lot of faith that LeBron James could do this. He's done it before against Toronto in the playoffs, against Orlando in the playoffs, and made some game-time clutch shots, even though they want to say LeBron James is not clutch. I beg to differ. And as he went, if you look at that play as well, it was drawn off perfectly. You had 2 good shooters on the strong side and 1 on the weak side, options for him to give it to. So as LeBron, he knew, well, let me put 2 shooters on this side on my right hand. So as I drive right with my right hand, I can easily kick it out to these 2 shooters if they want to suck in and come. And if you look at that play again, Dillon Brooks came towards LeBron like he could have tried to poke it away. But in that instant, he was afraid that Dillon Brooks was going to kick it out to Austin Reeves for the game-winning 3. And he didn't want to be that person to leave his man and let LeBron win the game on an assist to a 3-pointer to AR. So what he did was get back to AR and LeBron James. And by them having Anthony Davis playing that side of the paint, even though they sucked it in, because if he were to come over, LeBron could throw the lob to AD or get something to AD, which if I was Jaren Jackson Jr., I would have elected to come over sooner myself and gave that up to AD myself and wouldn't have let LeBron James hit that game-tying shot, because you feel like even if AD would have got it, you would have had time to get back to him and possibly foul him. And, of course, AD wasn't too clutch down the stretch on those free throws, because had he made that free throw down the stretch, you wouldn't even been looking at overtime. You would have been looking at the Lakers already winning at the end of regulation. However, that was not to be. And as a result, LeBron James took it so high off the glass that when Jaren Jackson Jr. came in, he jumped so high. But for LeBron James, do you know the concentration? I want y'all to know what concentration it took, the level of concentration it was in order to get that ball above Jaren Jackson, but the top, almost to the top of the glass, and barely kiss it off, because if you do it too hard, that's not going to drop in. But to barely kiss it off the top of the glass and let it drop in perfectly. And then at the end of regulation, of course, with 0.8 seconds, AD gets the block. LeBron throws up the half-court shot. We all knew it was too late, but that was a foretelling of things to come, as we all know what the Lakers went out and did in the overtime. And, of course, LeBron James and Anthony Davis sort of took over from there. LeBron James with the big and 1 play on Dillon Brooks that got him so excited. And I don't care what anybody says. It was because it was against Dillon Brooks. That was pent-up emotion. And Dillon Brooks has been playing LeBron James phenomenally well. You have to give props to Dillon Brooks. LeBron James hasn't been shooting the ball particularly well this series. And a lot of that has to do with the defense of not only Dillon Brooks, but the Memphis Grizzlies. So I look forward to the Lakers advancing and taking on teams that they're much bigger than, and stronger than, because this is going to be the most physical series until they get into the East and play a team in the finals that's going to be this rough and tough with the Los Angeles Lakers as far as a physicality on defense, because they're not going to get that from the Golden State Warriors. They're going to be, even though Golden State has hung their head on defense and they've always been the top defensive team in the league as they won their championships, even though they're going to play good defense this year as well. And we're not going to count out Draymond Green and that of Kevon Looney. But at the end of the day, the Lakers are bigger, stronger in every position. And I'm not afraid of the Golden State Warriors or the Sacramento Kings or the Phoenix Suns or Denver Nuggets for that matter. And I've been saying it for a mighty long time since the Lakers made this deal. And even when LeBron was out, I knew AD could keep it afloat because this was a new look team that had all the pieces that they need. And I'll say it for you just in case you're a new viewer and watching. I'm going to reiterate it once again. A rim protector in Anthony Davis, a LeBron James who can create, drive, create for others, and get his. You know what he can do. DAngelo Russell who can create for others as well as get his own shot. Then a shooter who can come off the bench and do that as well. Austin Reeves who can do that as well. Then you got somebody to do the dirty work like a Vanderbilt who can go out and be aggressive, get on the glass whenever he needs to, and just do what he needs to do in order to be that guy. Like still with Vanderbilt, even though what the Memphis Grizzlies are doing to him on the defensive end of the floor, it doesn't take away from what Vanderbilt is doing to Ja Morant defensively on that side of the floor. It's nothing short of amazing to be in that position and that size and still be able to have the feet and the athleticism and the speed to keep up with somebody like Ja Morant and keep him bottled up for the most part. So, you know, when Vando is in the game and Tillman is on AD, they just ignore him, and then, you know, it just doesn't lead to good things. And I think AD just doesn't get into a rhythm, you know, because he doesn't have the floor spacing. If they had, let's say, Achimura out there, then they wouldn't nearly clog the paint as much. And then you wouldn't have Jared Jackson Jr. cheating on AD. He would be more so out there respecting Achimura. And then AD could take more so of his advantage of his one-on-one situation, taking on Xavier Tillman. So at the end of the day, Lakers take the victory 117-111. Put down in the comments if you think the Lakers are going to take care of business again on Wednesday night. I think they do, because even though they could come back to Los Angeles and finish off that series, you know, they're going to be able to get a lot of rest because it looks like that Sacramento and Golden State series is going to continue for a lot more games, even though we know De'Aaron Fox, bad news for him as far as the breaking his fingertip or whatever. They listed him as doubtful. I'm not sure if that's been upgraded today. I haven't had a chance to take a look. Let me know in the comments if De'Aaron Fox is going to be playing tomorrow night. Tonight is not such a good games tonight, even though all the playoff games are good. But, you know, you have a Boston team up 3-1 on Atlanta, probably going to close that out. You have a Denver team back at home, up 3-1 on Minnesota, more than likely going to close that out. And the same situation for the Clippers and Phoenix Suns. So 3-1 series that more than likely will get closed out as well. Whereas tomorrow night, you had the better games with Miami and Milwaukee, with Milwaukee looking to extend that series. Can't say enough about what Jimmy Buckets did last night in that performance, putting his name in the name with greats as far as the most points in a playoff game, which is crazy. And then, of course, the matchup that we all will be looking forward to watching, the Golden State-Sacramento game that is tied 2-2. But Sacramento will be back at home. Golden State has been terrible on the road this year. I don't look for them to play particularly better than what they have been. But at the end of the day, with the Fox injury, we'll see how that goes. So I'm not sure at what point he did that in the game, because he finished the game. So I don't know if it was at the end where Draymond was reaching in and he had to kick it out to Harrison Barnes for the shot or what. But at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting. So if y'all haven't done so already, y'all know what to do. Hit that little bell, hit that little like, hit that subscribe. Keep supporting your boy B New as we grow the channel and as we grow these episodes. I look forward to each and every one of you joining me every day. Sorry I couldn't live stream last night. It got much too late and your boy was inebriated. So with all that being said, join me right here next time tomorrow night as we pregame, or tomorrow morning as we pregame the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Hopefully they can close out that series and the other series can stretch on, because the Lakers are going to need that rest. And whatever injury Anthony Davis got when he fell down and didn't want to get up, we don't even know. But we won't talk about that. We'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. But anyway, this has been your boy B New. And I just, as always, right on to the real, and much love to these haters. I'm out.